Alright, so yeah. So now I'm going to go through what each of the astrological houses will represent in a clear-cut sense. Just got done with my video linking the cognitive functions to the houses, so let me go through this. Alright. So, as I said before, your first house is your, as I was saying, it was related to your dominant function, but it's the self you appear as you're going after your 12th house goal. So, other examples, like, any other 12 signs, like, alright, so a Capricorn, they're the status climbers trying to get to the top, or whatever, that's how they come off. But the reason they're coming off is trying to get to the top is really that they're wanting to be free to explore, have that freedom, and they also want to teach. So they have to have that experience of getting to the top of the mountain before people want to hear about their story of climbing a mountain. Who wants to hear your story if you just, got to the top of a hill? It's like, what are you gonna say? So, does that warrant you, I don't know, but, in a tangible sense, like a literal, as opposed to the actual difficulty of, getting up a hill, not like, there isn't a metaphorical, sense in which getting to the top of the hill, but, in this direct, you just climbed, a little, dirt hill that, they're using to, they're building a house, and they're moving some dirt out the way, and you got to the top of that, is that going to warrant a bunch of people to listen to you? Probably not. So, but if you got to the top of Everest, you're like, look at this, then, more people are going to care. So, because there's more to it. So, longer journey. There's more to tell. I don't know. So, Aries rising, which, by the way, go ahead and put this out here. I'm pretty sure God, or at least how he's taught by Christians to be an Aries rising. Because Alpha and Omega, got first sign and last sign. I kind of think he's probably actually really the last, but because he's the last, because he's that awesome, he also did the first thing, as opposed to he did the first thing and whatever. No, the way he was able to make all of this other stuff is because he already did it, and then that's how he's able to start it. He's really a Pisces, but comes off as an Aries because it looks like any action you take, it's an act of God. It's the first thing. You get what I mean? Anything you do, it's it's just this action. It looks like there's no purpose behind it, but really there's all the purpose behind it because everything came before it. So that's basically that. So then you got the second house, which is the things you physically want to have, what you value, what you will spend your money on, which money is, I personally, again, I think we don't even need money. What's lacking isn't money. It's, the drive or whatever, being inspired to do the thing that money ends up paying you to do so that you'll do it. But if people were just doing what they naturally would do anyway, this is my Aries, 12th house talking, like, if we were just going to do, if we did, what we were going to do anyway, then it would all work. But since we've got all these other, things messing with it in the way, then, it's not working, because there's, we're making our own resistances, making our own our own boxes, our own walls in the way. The second house would be things that you actually want to have. Like, for instance, for me being a Taurus rising, I want to have, Gemini things. I want to be able to communicate my ideas. But it's hard to communicate your ideas when you're the first one, like when you're trailblazing something. So there's nothing to relate it to or anything. So then that drives me to want to obtain, it puts the whole, needing a currency of some form to be able to obtain it, because it's so hard to attain, because it's because it's hard to attain. So yeah, that's that. And then, like I was saying before, I think it's also related to the one-to-one instinct a bit, just to give you an idea of that, physical sense of it, there's, some food over there, and I want that food, something that you want to actually happen. But in this case, the communication is the thing that I actually want to physically happen. I want to be able to talk to people, straight about the ideas, right off the top of my head, but I can't ever get the words because the thing doesn't exist yet. So yeah. And then, as opposed to right now I made this, and now I finally get to express it and talk about it. Finally. So yeah. Then the third house, things you do on a whim. As opposed to the saying it's your, short trips. What is a short trip? What is a long trip? Is a short trip me walking from this part of my house to the other side of the house, or is it going to Florida? Or is it going to Alaska, or is it going to another planet, or is it, that's too relative, you know what I mean? It's it just doesn't quite, I don't know, it's not specific enough. So in my opinion, so yeah, I'm gonna say much more clear cut, gets to the heart of it. I think third house is things you do on a whim, and it's also related to the third function, like I was talking about before, because your third function, is the things that you kind of do without really practicing it a whole lot. You just kind of try to just do it every once in a while, and that's why it comes off kind of undeveloped or whatever, so yeah. And then your fourth house, like I was saying in the other video, they call it your home, but it's really how you end up getting taken care of. It's and as opposed to everything being your comfort zone, the whole thing is your comfort zone. All the houses are what you're doing what you're doing comfortably, and then that's what ended up coming up, because so so yeah, it's how you end up getting taken care of by others. For instance, being the Taurus rising, fourth house, got Leo there, so I usually end up having to get taken care of in, people speaking up for me, or being expressive, or because I can't find those words. So yeah, it'd be related to having the low extroverted feeling as an INTP, right? So being able to put that warmth of the sun on people. So that's, yeah, kind of challenging to me. Like, even when I think I'm doing it, it usually doesn't come off warm for some, or just doesn't do it for some reason. So yeah. So then the fifth house is like Cancer Virgo astrology. I actually like their analogy, his analogy. It being your campfire. It's, if other people came to a campfire that you had, what would probably be the reason? What would you be doing there? Makes sense. Think about it, like, fifth house, Leo, fixed fire. Fire that's just sitting there. Like, makes total sense. Like, I mean, instead of people, the confusion that could happen there is, it was getting mixed up with, like, you being childlike, or like, romance, games, speculative business, like, all this stuff. Like, it's like all those things could be all these other things. Like, like, but yeah, the campfire, I believe, is actually a pretty good analogy for the fifth house. And then, all right, like, the sixth house are the things that you end up, like, maintaining routinely. It's kind of loosely related to the self-preservation instinct from the Enneagram. Like, for instance, being a Taurus rising, I have Libra there. So it's kind of like my job, the thing that I have to do every day is keep the peace. Because I need to do that, 11th house goal, or like 10th house goal, where I have to have, like, that whole network of people together. I got that Pisces 11th house, so I got to figure out how to have the imagination to get everyone in this network to all get on the same page some fucking how. And, like, all sit down together and all get it done. So, like, so I got to be the one to figure out how to keep peace between everyone. So, yeah. So, that's how that would work. And then, yeah, the seventh house is what you relate to the least in yourself. I believe actually penny astrology actually explained this one pretty well. It's, it's like I was saying before, it's like your eighth function. Like, it's what you definitely are not, or what you definitely view yourself as not being. So, like I said before in the other video, like a Taurus rising, I'm having to do all that thinking, all that, about, like, taking my time and, take it before each step and going with what's logical and, tangible. Yeah. Well, let me leave logical out, because, again, I believe the signs are separate purely from, how the functions themselves. But yeah, tangibly, I'm thinking about, what's tangible versus the seventh house, that Scorpio, is going off, that deep feeling that you have. So, I definitely don't just go with my first feeling about something, because, first off, it takes me a while to really decide how I feel about something. Because, I don't know, because of, like, all the water in the social houses, I guess, like, I get, it's kind of dependent on the situation I'm in. So, and then, you're never in the same situation twice. So, it causes me to have to, like, really, like, think about how I feel, because it's totally different now, like, And then I'm always doing the trailblazing, so it's like, okay, what do I have to even grab onto to be able to say, like, I definitely feel this way, you know? So yeah. And then the 8th house is, like, I related to critical parent. It's, you know, they call it the house of crises, death, taxes, other people's money, and all that stuff. And, like, when you trim it down, really it's how, and like Alyssa Sharp said, like, it's like this, you know, prison, whatever, or a couple different astrologers there, like, yeah, like, yeah, Wacko Witch Astrology and Alyssa Sharp. I'm maybe putting this together some, but like, yeah, how it's like kind of this like prison or whatever you make for yourself. And that's what I find to be the case here. It's like, you know, how you could see things going wrong, so you know, end up not doing it as much. Other people end up getting to go do it, and then that's what breeds all like the jealousy in the 8th house and the Scorpio and all that stuff. Is like, you know, you're seeing other people getting all these things from that because you kept yourself from doing it because you were criticizing, like, well, this isn't going to work, or like, you know, this is going to keep me from doing the other thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Don't be fooled by my intonation there. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because it may very well be what actually gets you to that 12th house goal. So, or it's definitely a part, actually, of what caused you to get to that 12th house goal. So, not saying you shouldn't figure out a, you know, a workaround, like a way to get, you know, which is where the other people's resources come in. It's like you end up having to get it from other people, like get taught, you know, as being a Taurus rising, Sagittarius is there for me, so like, you know, being taught by other people, getting other people's wisdom, getting, you know, their experiences, because I'm not out like going to go do the stuff, and, you know, I'm back, you know, analyzing what these people have done, and like, you know, noticing all these things. So like, because the Aries is in the 12th house, so I'm back like looking at what people's bodies are, you know, physically doing, you know, like, so like, because, you know, it's related to like the body, and the first house is the self and all that, so like then I'm, you know, doing a lot of this like, you know, analyzing, and then that's also the Scorpio 7th house, you know, looking at like the motives and other intentions, stuff like that. So yeah, so then yeah, that's how the 8th house works. So then the 9th house is your sources. They call it, you know, your gurus and your teachers and your long distance travels and your whatever, but it's really like, think like citation page when you're thinking like long distance travel and all that stuff. Like, it's like, this is where I got this information, you know, like, and this is what makes it credible because it came from here, or, you know, this is the experience that led to this, you know, like that. That's what the 9th house is. And then the 10th house is, you know, you actually have that credibility, you have the status, the stance, you're at a position where you don't even have to show people your source, basically, because people know, you know what you're talking about, or, you know, they know that you're there for a reason or whatever. And like, the 10th house is the 5th function, like I was saying before, your scorecard, how you grade yourself. Like, you know, how well is what my 1st house or 1st function doing against my, you know, 5th function. Like, you know, for instance, like, you know, I have introverted thinking as an INTP, and then the 10th house is extroverted thinking. So, you know, I'm wanting to follow my own like logical way of doing this thing, but yeah, extroverted thinking is like the rules and systems that are already in place in the external world. So it's like, how well can I make my system that I made fit into the external world, and then that's how I end up getting status. And then that's why Aquarius is there for me, because I have to invent this new system to make it even like work into what's already there, you know, like, and then figure out how to incorporate like all these like scientific methods and, you know, analyses or whatever to in order to present it, you know, because I need to have some type of Saturn, you know, to be able to show that there's some validity to it, and, you know, so like to be able to continue to do it. So, and then that's the 10th house. Then the 11th house is, like I was saying, related to your, like I said in the other video, it's related to your second function, things that support you, your support systems. That's why they say like networks, you know, neural networks, yeah, anything, anytime like something comes together, a net that is working, I don't like a, you know, like things coming together to make something happen, you know, so like, you know, your second function is, you know, like it's usually called like the auxiliary, or, you know, auxiliary, and, you know, it's what's supporting your first one. So it's the 11th house is what's helping your first house do what it's trying to do. So then, yeah. And then the 12th house is what your soul's goal is. It's what you really are actually going after, yeah, in this life. Like what your entire soul, like everything about you, the entire, like in the big picture, everything is all going in this direction, and then this is your actual part in it. Like this is like when you take all the metaphysicalities and all the, like, take everything, boil it down, this is what you're really doing. And like I said, like I have Aries here, so really when you boil it all down, I'm trying to trailblaze and have those like first experiences, and like get those like first, you know, relating to the types, that first extroverted sensing experience. So yeah, so that is my clear-cut description of the houses. Enjoy. And talk to you guys later.